As always, thanks for the love and support in my first week of posting videos. I'd love to hit 200 subscribers by the end of week 1, so please share this video and help me get there. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below. So in their last match, Aston Villa faced Premier League champions Manchester City. Whilst no change to the formation or shape, we did see Douglas Luiz come in to replace Ramsey, who is managing a knock, and Buendia in for Ashley Young. In my match preview, I spoke a lot about Man City's fullbacks in single pivot and how Villa's front three could contain them. No surprise then that Pep changed things up and went for a double pivot in what more closely resembled Pep's take on the traditional 4-4-2. The double pivot of Rodri and Fernandinho gave them the numerical superiority against Villa's front three. Had they gone with a single pivot, the Villa front three could block passing options into both the pivot and the inside fullback on that side of play. The double pivot asked questions though. Do we want to block the pivots from receiving the ball in the central area and allow a passing option to a fullback in the half space? Or do we block the passing options to the fullback and allow them to play through the middle? You'll see from this photo that it caused Villa's midfield three to press higher up the pitch, which in turn created space between the lines for City's two false nines to receive in. So let's start with what went wrong for Villa, because I really want this video to end with the positives, and let's be clear, there were plenty to take from that game. First of all, the goals were disappointing ones to concede. The first goal was a frustrating one as, to some extent, there was some element of luck to it. The ball fell to a centre-back on the edge of the area on his weak foot. The ball takes a deflection and Martinez has a restrictive view, but really, the ball should have never got here in the first place. When Sterling receives the ball, you have to look at that and say we have things pretty well covered. But as Sterling takes on McGinn, a couple of things happen. In the top right, you'll notice Cancelo makes a run into the box, dragging Watkins with him. This in turn creates a space for Diaz to score from. And as the backline drops, they leave Jesus, who then chooses to make a run between the two Villa centre-backs, which Douglas Luiz tracks. For me, communication is key here. First, could Watkins signal to Bailey that he's tracking the run, or could Bailey be more aware of his surroundings? If he'd have spotted this, no doubt that he might have sniffed the danger and moved across to better cover where Diaz was. Secondly, could Luiz just tell Mings to pick up Jesus' run, meaning he wouldn't then get dragged in towards play? He'd then be slightly higher up and better positioned to have intercepted the cutback before it reached Diaz. The second goal was a really poor bit of transitional play. Villa were attacking through Cash, who swung a ball into the box, which was then headed away by Cancelo. Some composed play between him and Mahrez meant they found a ball out through the press of Luiz and Buendia. This was where the first mistake came though. Target should have recognised the press and been higher up, stopping that ball ever being played into the space for Fernandinho. Even when Fernandinho gets onto the ball, Target hesitates whether to press or drop. In fact, you even see Douglas Luiz getting frustrated that he isn't pressing the ball. But from there, unfortunately, it got worse. Mings is caught in no man's land, marking absolutely nobody. Perhaps he is expecting Target to press, but the minute he spotted Fernandinho on the ball, he should be dropping straight away. McGinn, on the other hand, does spot the danger. In fact, just before, he glanced and saw it was 2v2 on Konsa and Mings. Instead, when he does see the danger and Fernandinho picking the ball up, his first thought was to check out wide at Sterling, who was still on the floor. Had his first reaction been to drop, that could have made the difference in stopping Bernardo Silva scoring. Meanwhile, Konsa can see the full picture though, and if he correctly recognises the danger, he should be screaming at Mings and McGinn to drop. In fact, as the ball goes over Mings' head, he can be seen throwing his hands up asking why Konsa hasn't told him to drop already. For me, that goal initially came from a Target error, but then was followed up by errors from Konsa, Mings and McGinn. It only needed one of them to spot the danger, and it all could have been averted. Nevertheless, a truly world-class finish from Bernardo Silva. One thing that I pointed out in my first video was that chances would be hard to come by, and we would have to be clinical. Even with more chances than I expected though, we certainly failed at this task, making the wrong decisions most of the time. Bailey, who ended up going off injured, led the charge on a couple of occasions and either held onto the ball too long instead of releasing it, or played the wrong pass. Also, late in the game, Carney Chukwuemeka missed a golden opportunity to level the scoring and become a hero. But he's young and a great prospect, so no doubt he'll learn from this. We also struggled to play out from the back, and at one point Martinez even passed the ball out for a City corner. It's great to see us trying to play out and retain possession, but we are clearly some way off that style of play. Perhaps distribution could be one weakness to Emi Martinez's game, and also could explain the rumours flying around this week linking us with Joe Gomez of Liverpool. Gerrard clearly wants to play this way, but are our centre-backs up to the task? That's yet to be seen. Injuries to Target and Bailey are also worrying signs, along with the news of managing Ramsey with his knock. Gerrard has certainly upped the intensity in training, and with a congested fixture list in December, we risk finding ourselves struggling for player fitness. Just quickly, before I move on to the positives, if you are enjoying this video, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button? That'll tell YouTube that you like the video and other Villa fans might like it too. So what positives can we take? Well, Ollie Watkins was absolutely superb. I said on my match preview that Ollie would be important to this game. He needed to run the channels, hold the ball up and give the two City centre-backs a headache, and he did that perfectly. And whilst most people will focus on the superb Bernardo Silva goal, let's not ignore what a finish that was by Watkins. First time, on the half volley, and around a defender into the bottom corner. It's incredible technique, and it looks like we might have an Ollie Watkins back at his best. That leads me on to my second good thing. Another set-piece goal and Austin McPhee earning his paycheck. Last match, we targeted the second phase of corners, picking apart a weakness in Palace. This time, a beautifully planned routine saw us become the first team to score against City from a corner this season. The next good takeaway from last night was getting 90 minutes into Douglas Luiz and some first minutes for Sanson. Luiz was confident in possession, retained the ball well, and was full of fight and desire to pick up points against his former club. Meanwhile, the short showing from Sanson saw some really bright touches and positives for what we can expect, including his absolutely beautiful touch. Suddenly, out of nowhere, we now have huge competition for those three centre midfield spots, with Nakamba, McGinn, Ramsey, Luiz and Sanson all putting in some quality performances over the last week or so. Gerrard really has raised the standards and got the players fighting for starting positions. Moving slightly further forward, we also started to see glimpses of the player we had hoped for when signing Buendia. It's been clear to see that he's been frustrated with his own performances, and whilst his work rate has been okay, his first touch, creativity, and general match sharpness has been missing. Last night, though, after a few shaky first touches, he seemed to get it under control. He played some smart 1-2s and often looked for the right pass, though sometimes not with the right weight. He also nearly and possibly should have got his assist when he played through Carney late on in the game. Whilst he still hasn't hit the player we expect from a record signing, there are certainly glimpses that it might not be too far away now. Finally, I'm just cautious that I may have been too hard on Chukwuemeka. He did miss that chance to level the game, but he showed some real bright touches and plenty of confidence when he came on. Let's also not overlook that making that run to get into the goal-scoring position is a skill in itself and a real positive sign to see him there. With a lot of contract talk circling around him at the minute, he needs to keep his head down and put the work in. Gerrard sending a clear message there that if he impresses enough, there's Premier League game time waiting for him. Thanks again for watching, and let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys, so I'll make the effort to reply to as many comments as possible. And don't forget, if you haven't already, then hit that subscribe button just here, and we'll make sure that we get to 200 by the end of the week.